Star Wars, best place for below average Star Wars.
Hello there, and welcome to the Star Wars Show, a UK-based Star Wars podcast with in-depth discussions and analysis, always sprinkled with some silliness. I am the Geordie Jedi Pete, and I'm very pleased to welcome back from injury the legendary Jason Hondoling. Jason, I know you're not 100%, but I'm so glad to have you back. How are you doing?
I'm still breathing, so that's a big bonus. I'm feeling a lot better. And as a lot of people probably hear, oh, sorry, I can't mute as quick. Yeah, apart from this lingering cough and sore throat, I'm getting there.
Well, it's great to hear that you are alive and kicking. You sound a lot better than you were a couple of weeks ago, and I'm glad that you are on the way to recovery. And I am also glad that you are back talking Star Wars with me. I have got something that would cheer you up. Do you want to know what it is?
Oh, go on, hit me with it, Pete.
So, we've been left a lovely 5-star review. So, this comes all the way from Canada. It comes from Ash M. And they say, 5 stars. Tell that to Kanji Club. Hey, that's my line. Love this podcast. Love the hosts even more. They truly deep dive into Star Wars lore and keep us updated on our favourite content. This is a clean and respectful podcast with true Star Wars fans. Thanks, friends, for keeping us updated. Well, Ash, thank you very much for the lovely review. We really do appreciate A, you listening to us, B, enjoying us, and C, taking the time to leave a review. It really does mean a lot, and we're definitely going to get ourselves together and send a little package out to you, hopefully sometime soon. Little goodie bag, some Star Wars stickers, maybe some merchandise, maybe a cap, but we'll finalise that and we'll get that sent out. So thank you very much. Did that warm your heart?
Yeah, no. That's an awesome review, and it's really nice that someone took the time to do that for us. Yeah.
I was also looking through Ash's Instagram account, and I shared the Star Wars account shared some of Ash's art, a lot of different art, a lot of pets, dogs, animals, but also a lot of Star Wars. Really, really awesome stuff. So definitely go and check that post out. Right, we're going to dive straight into Star Wars chatter now. First up is Star Wars Celebration. The main panels have been announced. Obviously, Star Wars Celebration Japan takes place next month between April 18th and the 20th, and the 4 ticketed panels that will require ballot entry have been revealed. On Friday, we have the Mandalorian and Grogu panel. On Saturday, we have Andor, the Star Wars Story panel. Also on Saturday, we have the Ahsoka panel. And then on Sunday, probably very fitting for where this is in the world, we have the first look at Star Wars Visions Volume 3. So panel reservations will open on March 25th at 4 p.m. That is on Pacific time, I believe. Or it's March 26th, 8 a.m. at Japan time. And you can only register for one panel for each day, meaning you have to choose your preference for Saturday. But obviously, anybody going to Celebration should probably have the Celebration app and should be checking all news outlets to know the details of all that. Obviously, me and Jason are not going to Star Wars Celebration, but are hoping to enjoy the live stream and are hoping to enjoy all of the content that people we follow who are going there will be sharing. Let's just dive into the panel announcements, Jason. Friday, we're getting the Mandalorian and Grogu. So at this point, the movie will be just over a year away. Obviously, it's coming May 2026, so this will be April 2025. So, just over a year away, 1 year and 1 month away, roughly. What's your thought on us getting the Mandalorian and Grogu? I think it makes sense. It's the next Star Wars movie to hit theaters, so it makes sense to have a main event panel about it. Do you think we're going to get a full trailer? And do you think we're going to get much of the cast and crew there in person to answer questions?
I'd like to think yes to both. Obviously, don't know exactly how far everything is, but I'm guessing it's quite a way into the post-production stuff now. And obviously, a lot of things will have been finalised. I'd like to hope that obviously some of the actors cast will be there. Not sure. Obviously, I know with Pedro, he's a very, very busy man at the moment. But I would like to think that maybe he'd be there in some way. Although I did see someone mention, obviously, that they might do some pre-recorded stuff with him. Which, as long as it's some decent content, I think everyone will be happy. But yeah, I'd definitely be interesting to see what's happened and where we are with the Mandalorian and Grogu. The other thing, I've seen some interesting bits going around where I saw an interview with Jon Favreau where he's still saying that obviously season 4 is written and not mentioned, and mentioned season 4 separately to the film. So it could be interesting to see, is this film going to wrap up the Mandalorian and Grogu story, or is there more to come? So who knows? Obviously, the people that do hopefully might reveal a bit. Celebration is good for reveals, so I'm hoping we're going to get some information on where our favourite Mandalorian and his little green child are going.
Indeed. So that is another talking point we're going to talk on the show, is season 4 of The Mando being written. I think, we'll dive into the story later, but I think, to me, that says that they're going to continue this. They are going to put the Mando back on Disney Plus for a little bit after the movie, which to me says this movie could be just a straight Mando adventure. It could maybe be go back in time. I suppose we don't know where this fits in the timeline, but we will see. Could have flashbacks, I suppose. I think we'll definitely get a trailer. It is sort of the only film that's previewed here with the main event panel. So I think because of that, I think it needs to have a trailer. When you look at Andor, obviously Andor will be just about to be released. And we've already had the trailers as we've watched. Ahsoka is still in pre-production, and The Sunday is an animated project. So I think for live action, the only room for trailer really is going to be the Mandalorian Grogu. So I think we will definitely get a trailer. I know what you say about Pedro. He'll be very busy because Fantastic Four First Steps comes out this summer. So we'll be starting to do press for that. As well as I'm pretty sure that, I forgot the name of it, The Last of Us Season 2 from HBO is due to release soon. So I imagine press for that will be starting soon as well. So he's going to be a very, very busy guy with those projects that are releasing soon. But who knows, he could be there, but time will tell. What's your thoughts on Saturday? The 2 panels, first up, Andor, A Star Wars Story. Obviously, Disney Plus have gone full in, and Star Wars have gone full in on showing a sort of a look back at season 1. They've had the creator, Tony Gilroy, do a sort of a look back at season 1 and commentary as well recently. A lot of look backs, a lot of new trailers. Obviously, this show will be days away from airing when this panel takes place. So I don't think we'll get a new trailer, but we could get new sizzle reels, and then I imagine we will definitely get the cast and crew there to talk about it. This will be their last chance to do big press before the release. And I imagine in closed door scenario, there'll be a premiere for those in attendance to watch it without it being streamed. But yeah, what's your thoughts and excitement for the Andor, A Star Wars Story panel?
Yeah, I think this one's going to be the big one because I very much, from what I'm hearing, it's going to be the launching point of that series. They seem to be cutting back on premieres all over the place, and I think this will be the perfect venue for them to launch it in a way where they've got as many of the fans there as possible to enjoy it. And I think, obviously, with how close it is to the release, I would have thought the majority of the cast will be there, which will be a great experience for anyone that's there. I'm really looking forward to this series. So yeah, I'm hoping that it will be a big reveal for us. And obviously, it's only a couple of days after that we get the first 3 episodes.
Definitely. And then what's your thoughts on Ahsoka? Obviously, like I said, that's in pre-production now. They haven't filmed anything yet, I don't believe, and they wouldn't have done by the time we get a celebration. Obviously, Dave will probably be there to promote the Mandalorian Grogu and that Friday panel, so I imagine Dave will only be a big part of the Ahsoka panel. But no, what is your thoughts on the Ahsoka panel and sort of what are you hoping to get if we aren't going to be able to get any sort of footage?
I think this is very much going to be the just before they start production, because I don't know if you've noticed, but the majority of the Ahsoka cast have been announced as guests at Liverpool Comic Con over here in the UK for May the 4th. And obviously, Ahsoka is due to be filming over here. So I'm assuming from the fact that they're nearly all appearing at that Comic Con that production is about to kick off big time. So I think it will maybe before they get to the UK to start filming, this will be their chance to talk about what they're going into. Whether there'll be the big reveal. Whether there'll be the big reveal of who is taking on, officially the Balin Skull character, and hopefully we'll be able to see some of that. So yeah, I think the majority of the cast will be there, and it'll be to announce a main panel for Ahsoka. There's got to be something that they're going to share with us, and obviously build up to the fact that they're going into production of it.
Definitely. I would love to see some awesome concept art. I would love to see them announce the cast and obviously talk about how important Balin Skull's continuing story is, I suppose, and why it was important to recast after the tragic passing of Rey. And to have cast and crew there will be absolutely fantastic. Now, moving on to Sunday, obviously your first look at Star Wars Visions Volume 3. Looks like it's the only animated panel announced so far, so I imagine this is the main panel, so, obviously animation being a huge part of Japanese culture. It's getting its own main event panel here. Obviously, Star Wars Visions is something that the company's been committed to. It's going into its 3rd season. It's finished. It's ready to come out. I don't know what your thoughts were on Visions Season 1 and 2, but what were they, and then sort of what are you hoping for from Visions Volume 3?
Yeah, Visions Season 1 I quite enjoyed. Season 2 I struggled with. I watched them, but it wasn't something that gripped me enough to want to go back to. And I'm interested to see, obviously, Season 2 strayed from it wasn't all anime studios. So it'd be interesting with Season 3 where they've gone back to more of what Season 3 was. But yeah, I wanted to like Visions, but I just didn't quite get excited by it. I think I'd be more excited if it was like Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Sith, all of that sort of thing. Those episodes I really enjoyed. But I think maybe that's because obviously, as everyone knows, I'm a huge Rebels and Clone Wars fan and Bad Batch. So all of those sort of hit the right mark for me. But I do love animation. I like the fact that they tried new styles and new ways of telling the story, because it doesn't always have to be linear. That's one of the reasons why I know a lot of people got upset about Acolyte, but I was quite comfortable with a change of ways. And yeah, no, I'll be intrigued to see what's on offer with Visions, and see where that's going.
Which of the panels are you looking forward to the most? If you had to pick one.
I think it'll probably be the Andor one. because it's the build up. I'm already getting quite psyched about Andor. By that time, I'll know I'm 2 weeks away, or not 2 weeks, 2 days, or 2 or 3 days away from seeing what they've done. So yeah, I think for me it'll be the Andor panel.
I think for me, I'm very invested in Andor and very excited, but I think I've already seen a lot of the promotional content and I'm just ready for that show now. I think I'm most excited for the Mandalorian Grogu. You know, that's our next Star Wars movie, and I think Star Wars in cinemas just hits different. I love all Star Wars, whether it's a comic book, whether it's a novel, whether it's an audio book, you know, whether it's an animated show, whether it's a live action show. But I think Star Wars in theaters just hits differently, and I'm hyped for it. So I'm very excited for the Mandalorian Grogu and hopefully get first looks at that movie. And I think my second favorite would probably be Ahsoka, just because I'm intrigued as to what they're going to do, as they probably won't have any footage at all because we're not only done yet. But I'm excited to maybe see some concept art and just the overall ideas of what's going to be happening. And again, if you are going to Star Wars Celebration Japan, obviously not long now till April 18th. And as I said, personal reservations open on March 25th or March 26th, depending on your time zone. So definitely check that out and get yourself in there to get your chance to be in these panels and see all the stars and all the awesomeness in person. Moving on from that story, we've already mentioned it. Jon Favreau on The Mandalorian Season 4, he did say, yes, I've written it already. So this was quite cool. Obviously, whilst we wait for the release of The Mandalorian Grogu, that's next May, as I've said, May 2026, we are already looking forward to see what happens next in the Mandoverse. And showrunner Jon Favreau obviously did share in a recent interview that he's already written the 4th season of the show. You know, pretty much, he wasn't meaning anything else. You know, he quite clearly said, Season 4, yeah, I've written it already. We have to know where we are going to tell a fully formed story. So we mapped it out, Dave and I, and then slowly you just write each episode. So I was writing it during post-production because all of it has a feel like a continuation and one full story. So basically what he said is, you know, during the post-production for the movie, The Mandalorian Grogu, he has finished writing the Season 4 of The Mandalorian. I think for me, this does mean that we know Mandalorian's probably not going to die in The Mandalorian Grogu, but I mean, he probably wasn't going to die anyway because he's a pretty, you know, focal point of the Star Wars universe currently, I suppose, right now, moving forward. But I am excited that we can go and tell a movie then we can come back to Disney Plus and do a full season, because I appreciate, you know, full seasons of Star Wars as well, and that's really important to do. So I think this is a great thing, and it does show that although Star Wars is going back to cinemas, and I do agree that they do need to do that, you know, that they do need to put some content on Disney Plus as well, which is also important. So we're not just giving up on that. Obviously, we'll have less, but you know, the fact that one of the Star Wars series we're going to get going forward is a season 4 of The Mandalorian, which is arguably the best Star Wars show they've done on that platform, I think is a very good thing. So what's your thoughts? I'll give you the full quote on sort of being excited for The Mandalorian sort of has a future past the movie, Mandalorian Grogu, and sort of what's your thoughts on what season 4 could mean. I think season 4, I think the movie could be quite a cool and awesome adventure. Maybe set something up. And I think season 4 is probably going to dive into sort of the Mandoverse and what's happening with Thrawn and sort of the Heir to the Empire live action canon version. I don't know what your thoughts are on that though, Jason, so take it away.
Yeah, I'm very much thinking that I think the Mandalorian Grogu film will be very much like an adventure with our two heroes. And then I think the series will possibly pick back up the story that we had with Bo-Katan and, you know, returning to Mandalore. Maybe we'll get something to do with the Mythosaur, because I think knowing Jon Favreau, you know, I don't think they just showed us the Mythosaur for the sake of showing us the Mythosaur. I think that's going to play a part later on in the series. So there's commitment, seems to be, to another series. I think
There is indeed.
also, I think also, as we sort of discussed previously, you know, obviously Pedro's very busy, But the beauty of the character of the Mandalorian is that with the body doubles, the character can carry on and the story can carry on without it affecting what we as fans see. So I think, there's still life in the Mandalorian and his adventures. And obviously, we know we've got Ahsoka coming where we're very much going to see what's happening with Thrawn. So I think that could all tie in as well.
It certainly could. As I've said, The Mandalorian Grogu will be released on May 22nd, 2026. So that's next summer. It's obviously directed by Jon Favreau and produced by Favreau, Kathleen Kennedy, and Dave Filoni. And you can obviously stream the first 3 seasons of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus now, which I definitely recommend. Keeping things Jon Favreau and Mandalorian based, I don't know if you've heard of the BDX droids that have appeared at some Disney parks over the past year, Jason. Have you?
Yeah, I've been following their adventures online quite avidly.
So they're almost like a mix between BD-1 from the Star Wars Jedi games featuring Cal Kestis and sort of the BDX droids is what they're called, and sort of they're like a hybrid of that. They look almost like if they're like little ducks in real life, and sort of they go around the Disney parks. They're obviously, I imagine, radio controlled, or you don't see that. And then sort of they walk around the parks, but it seems like the BDX droids are coming to the Mandalorian and Grogu and more Disney parks. So basically, there was a SXSW conference in Austin, Texas. Disney shared their future world building with Jon Favreau, taking to the stage to reveal that the BX droids will feature in the upcoming film The Mandalorian and Grogu. And following their recent stint at Disneyland in Anaheim, the adorable yet feisty droids will be making their way to Disney parks around the globe before the end of this year, which is fantastic. So yeah, I said they've only been in Anaheim so far, in Galaxy's Edge in Anaheim, which is Disneyland. I think, again, it's important to probably tie these theme parks into current canon because that's how you're going to get sort of the connection with today's youth. And I think that's how you're going to want to make the parks as successful as the TV shows, and it just makes it all subtly interconnected, which is what you want. So I suppose, what's your thoughts on the fact that these droids have debuted? It's 2 questions really. The fact that these droids that we've seen in Disney Park are now going to be brought into the live action universe on screen. And what's your thoughts on the fact that the rest of the world's going to get these droids now at Disney parks?
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I love everything to do with droids and droid building. And these new droids have been very cleverly designed. They're different. Obviously, there's new mechanisms that they've experimented with. They've clearly done a lot of work. And obviously, the fact that they're going to be in live action is great. I don't know if you saw the footage where they also had the little, I can never remember the name of the alien, the same race as Babu Frick, sat on top trying to repair this droid as it was going along. But obviously they've also worked on the animatronic of that puppet to work with these droids. So I think there's going to be a lot of fun for people to see as this comes to life. The droid building, what these guys are coming up with. I think for every film and every TV series, they seem to be working harder to make a new droid that is different to what they've previously created, and in some ways more magical, because you look at it and you think, okay, that seems to be working without remote controls. That is a droid. That's not someone puppeteering. That's a droid. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it pans out.
It will indeed. And again, like I said, I think it's important to tie these parks into Star Wars canon. They've done it with sort of, the planet Batu, which is where Galaxy's Edge is set, in the Black Spire Outpost, which is sort of where you are in the theme park as part of Star Wars canon. And when it was getting opened, it was tied into sort of Star Wars books quite a bit. But I think it's great now them seeing interacting that into the live action universe. I think it's very important to keep that synergy. Favreau also revealed that the new Smugglers Run mission featuring the Mandalorian and Grogu will debut at Disneyland and Walt Disney World on May the 22nd, 2026. So that is, again, sort of next year. So just before the movie comes out. This has caused a bit of commotion because they released some really cool artwork and some like glimpses of the actual product, I believe. And we did see the Razor Crest in action. Now, people were trying to say, "Oh, this is footage from the movie, so has he rebuilt the Razor Crest?" But I'm not saying the Razor Crest isn't in the film because we don't know that. But the Razor Crest has only been seen in these images for the Smuggler's Run Millennium Falcon reveal. So to me, what it says is, this could be the Mando from before we see him in The Mandalorian. Maybe not, before his ship gets destroyed. So maybe he does rebuild it, but maybe he doesn't. I'll run you through the story. But yeah, Favreau revealed that the Mandalorian and Grogu mission will be coming to Smuggler's Run at Disneyland and Walt Disney World on the same day the film is released, and the duo will also visit familiar locations from the original trilogy. Other locations revealed as part of the new mission include Tatooine, Cloud City on Bespin, and Death Star 2, with concept art shown for all three. The Death Star 2 was also like a destroyed Death Star, just to give everybody that heads up in the art. So what's your thoughts on I suppose there's two questions really. Obviously, I love the fact that they can sort of modify this ride and add things to it, so it means that the ride can constantly evolve. Now, that could be sad because it could mean that, for example, I have not had a chance to go to Galaxy's Edge yet because it's in America and it's expensive to get there. So when I do, it might be this new version of the ride on and I might miss the original. But what's cool is it constantly evolves, and it means that technically they could do different adventures at different times, almost like Star Tours, where you don't know what you're going to get down the line. Or, for limited time only, bring back the old version. Or, once they've got a few of these adventures running, could run at different weekends, could be different adventures, which really makes it really immersive and really open and really exciting. And then also, what's your thoughts on, I suppose, the elephant in the room? We are going to see the Razor Crest interact with the original trilogy. We see the Millennium Falcon, which is obviously part of the ride, so he's probably going to be interacting with at least Chewbacca, but maybe Han Solo, maybe Rey, maybe Leia, maybe R2, maybe C-3PO, who knows, maybe Lando Calrissian. So yeah, what's your thoughts on the fact that this ride is going to get updated adventures as we go, completely different adventures, and then what's your thoughts on what it means for the Mandalorian storytelling?
Yeah, I dream of going to Galaxy's Edge and riding this ride. One day I will get there. It is slightly sad that obviously it may not be the same ride that other people have enjoyed, but then it's also slightly exciting that, as you say, it can be changed and it can be kept up to date with what we're getting in our Star Wars universe. So yeah, it's really exciting that they can do this. Obviously, being a simulator-based ride, it's quite straightforward to do this sort of thing. And many, like you say, with Star Tours and that, there's always updates, there's always new things. So I think it also, for people that are fortunate enough to visit Galaxy's Edge regularly, obviously they then also get to see it evolve and experience a different ride each time that they go there, which is got to be good for the park because it reinvigorates it. As for the Razor Crest, it'll be interesting to see what happens there, and obviously seeing the Mando, Cloud City, and the Millennium Falcon, bringing it up to date with where Star Wars is. As you say, it could be that when we take this adventure, the Razor Crest, it's before Mando's lost the Razor Crest. I think was Slave One also in the image as well, or Boba Fett's starship, which although obviously at this point, Mando, we don't know where Mando is with Boba either. But there's so much, and after all, this is, from what I can make out, it's like previs artwork. So it could just be that the artist that's been tasked with doing it has got down and used the ships that he know or they know, without fully realising that obviously by that time Razor Crest has been blown to pieces. But, with artwork, things can change until it appears on the screen. We'll never know exactly what's going to happen. And that's part of the excitement. We can hypothesize, we can try and tear stuff to pieces. But as we've seen with like the likes of the Marvel universe and even with some of the Star Wars, when you see the trailer, you don't always get what you see in the trailer in the film. Some of it ends up on the cutting room floor. So it's something that obviously feeds the imagination, which I think is a good thing. But until you actually see it in the flesh, don't get overexcited.
Definitely, I'm very excited that the fact that they are adding things to these rides, I suppose, and as Walt always said, the parks should be constantly evolving, and it's good to see Star Wars being a driving force behind that. Keeping things Disney related, Disney reveals Mara Jade Legacy lightsaber set available from March the 8th, so that'll be on sale now. So the next Legacy lightsaber set from Disney is Mara Jade. It's available from DisneyStore.com now. It's housed in a wooden box with a variant comic of the Emperor's Hand #1 and certificate, and it's limited to 3,500 copies. So if you want one, it's been out a couple of days now, so I'd definitely go and check it out. I don't think it comes with a blade, which is interesting because Mara Jade's lightsaber is purple, I believe, in Here at the Empire and in those stories. The lightsaber handle looks awesome. I think it's great to see that they are bringing these, the legacy hilts. I don't own one, but I have held them and I've seen them in the parks, and they do look absolutely wonderful. And they've done quite a few special editions, and they've carried quite a few different characters. And I'm glad to see the interchange. They bring different people in as one sell out. This is what they've said about it. The Emperor's Hand, a limited edition Legacy lightsaber set, is designed to showcase Mara Jade's transition from an agent of the Empire to an extremely powerful Jedi and wife of Luke Skywalker. The set will include a highly detailed Legacy lightsaber hilt, a limited comic book with a variant cover from the classic comic Star Wars Mara Jade by the Emperor's Hand issue #1, and individually numbered insert, and a fancy wooden box packaging and sliding doors, and the design that's half Empire symbol, half New Jedi Order symbol. The lightsaber hilt will illuminate purple when a Legacy lightsaber blade is attached, so that does have a purple kyber crystal. So if you put one of your normal lightsaber blades in that hilt, it will ignite in purple, so it will match. So that is absolutely fantastic. I said limited to 3,500 units. I'm not sure if there's any on sale yet. If you're in the UK, best place to get them is probably Disney.com, I'd imagine. And they were priced at $325, so it's not too cheap, but it does look awesome. It's obviously exciting because I know, we're probably not getting Mara Jade, right, even in this retelling of Heir to the Empire that Dave Filoni's doing with the Mandoverse, with Thrawn being back, so to speak. But in sort of that timeline in the galaxy, we have Heir to the Empire, and we had this stuff with the Emperor's Hand going on. Not necessarily at the same time exactly, but it was sort of a similar time for the galaxy. What happened to our heroes post Return of the Jedi is what I'm talking about. I think it's great to do this type of things, and the hilt looks awesome. So what's your thoughts as a Star Wars collector on the fact that we are getting this kind of product available to us? Obviously, I get it's expensive, but, these things are expensive. The Luke Skywalker one's the same price, or a similar price even. So are you glad they're doing things like this, and do you think it's a hint that maybe Mara Jade will turn up in some live action?
Yeah, as you know, I love a lightsaber. I don't tend to go for the legitimate expensive ones, partly because I think if I use them in the same way I use the ones I've got, I'd probably wreck them very quickly. And at the price I'd be paying, I'd be very cross with myself. But they do look awesome. And, as a collector's piece, I think it'd be a great thing to be able to collect. Again, it's just the cost could keep me going forever. But yeah, no, it's good that they're doing these things. And it would be interesting. I think there are ways that they could bring Mara Jade in. I've spoken in the past about how I would like to see, um, an adventure of Luke Skywalker with a different actor other than Mark Hamill, but then maybe bookended by Mark Hamill. And everyone knows that my ideal one would be Sebastian Stan. So they could do this whole adventure showing where Luke maybe meets Mara. And as we know, Star Wars, by the time we get to Luke in The Last Jedi, something would have had to happen to Mara, and maybe a great tragedy love story would be something fun and different to do.
It could indeed, and I don't think she necessarily has to become his wife either. If they do bring her in, what is cool is that obviously Mara Jade is obviously available here for fans of Mara Jade. Maybe a bit of an expensive price, I suppose, but it does look awesome. But we have just recently had Mara Jade released in Black Series, so 6-inch Black Series. It was a 4-pack, so it was priced at like 130 quid, I think. But at certain places in the UK, I just picked up Star Wars: The Last Command 4-pack, which includes Luke Skywalker and Mara Jade with a purple lightsaber. It includes the clone Luke, perhaps my worst thing about Star Wars, and it also includes Joris Kaboth, who looks absolutely awesome. And I picked up for £33, believe it or not. So you can get some cheap Mara Jade merch, which also looks awesome, which is cool to see sort of Star Wars Legends being continued in product form for us to get at. Quick question for you. Obviously, if I was to say you could pick any 3 of the legacy lightsabers to own, which 3 would you pick?
Darth Maul.
Darth Maul, fantastic. Is that Darth Maul's original one, or
Yeah, the double-ended lightsaber. Yeah.
from the Phantom Menace? Yeah.
Yeah. Count Dooku's.
Oh, very nice, classy. That's a classy number, that one.
Yeah, I do love Dooku's. I keep looking at getting a version of Dooku, and I think Ahsoka's from the Clone Wars.
Very good choices. Yeah, I see you cheated there. So you've got one double-ended, one normal, and you've picked Ahsoka's, which you're saying you're going to get 2. Well done, you, for shocking the system there and cheating, but I like your style. I'm going to go with Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi. It's because I love that lightsaber so much. I'm also going to go with Kylo Ren's, because again, it's just an iconic design for an iconic character. And then last but not least, I'm also going to go with iconic design. I believe they did Stellan Garrios's from the High Republic era, which was absolutely awesome. So I would go for that one as well. That would be my 3.
Nice.
Moving on from Disney parks, and we've already sort of half mentioned this story, to be fair. Again, just wanted to say that Hayden Christensen, obviously Darth Vader in the prequel trilogy and in the Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ahsoka shows on Disney+, he's coming to Liverpool Comic Con on May the 3rd, 2025. That is at the ACC Liverpool campus. He's just doing this Saturday only. Other Star Wars guests attending also include Rosario Dawson, Natasha Liu Bordizzo, who is, of course, Sabine Wren, and Emily Swallow, who is I forgot the name of the character. The
Armorer.
Yep, the Armorer. The Mandalorian's very own blacksmith, and Cameron Monaghan's going to be there as well. So yeah, I mean, if you want to meet Hayden Christensen, he doesn't do many UK cons, but like here they are, he's coming. So I'm not quite sure how much he is, but he's probably going to be cheap that he is at Celebration. But he is doing photo ops and signings, I believe. And there's also a dual photo op opportunity with Hayden in Rosario on the Saturday only, so you can get pictures with Hayden and Rosario, so you can get Anakin and Ahsoka next to you. But yeah, the tickets are available on their website. Anybody go to Liverpool Comic Con on the 3rd and 4th of May. On that 4th is when Hayden Christensen is appearing. Does that make, obviously, I know what you said, Jason. It makes sense what you said about them maybe being in the UK to start production on that show. Obviously, why not attend the convention, I suppose, and make some money and make some fans happy while you're there. Are you excited that we're getting someone like Hayden Christensen in the UK doing normal cons?
Yeah, when I saw this, I thought this is really good. If I could get myself to Liverpool to see it, I would love to get there. Partly because I love Rosario Dawson. I think she's amazing, and I think what she's done with Ahsoka is amazing. Hayden, I think the more I see of him, the more I really like the guy, like what he's doing. Obviously, Emily is someone that I am dying to meet. Obviously, everyone knows I love the Mandalorians, and my current adventure with the Mandalorian mercs, with forging my own armor. Obviously, to meet the armorer would be perfect. I know the guys that are helping me with my armor have met Emily, I think, a couple of times, and they've just told me what a lovely person and how amazing it is to meet her. And I know, reading stories about her interaction with fans and the way she carries herself at Comic Cons. I'm really pleased that we're going to get the chance to see her again over in the UK. So yeah, I was really, really pleased with these announcements, and I'd love to find a way to get there, to experience those actors at that con, because I think for anyone who gets there, if you get the chance to meet these guys, it's going to be a really special experience.
It certainly is. Move on to our next topic, and that is Rick McCallum, who doesn't talk very much. He doesn't really do many interviews. We don't really see him much, considering he was so central to sort of Lucasfilm from, the 90s all the way through to the end of sort of the 2010s. So you think about it. He did an interview with the Young Indiana Chronicles podcast, and he talked about Star Wars, which was really cool. So in an interview with the Young Indie Chronicles podcast, producer Rick McCallum has shared more details about the shelved Star Wars Underworld TV series, saying he tried to work out a budget for the show, and the lowest he ever got was $40 million per episode. So for those who don't know, Star Wars Underworld was a show that was sort of in pre-production, or maybe not even pre-production. I suppose there was a lot of scripts written, and there was sort of some test footage shot. So they were trying to sort of look at things to try and see if it was possible to make Star Wars television. And I think at the time it just turned out it wasn't possible with the budget that they had. Obviously, since then, Industrial Light and Magic has created the I forgot the name of it. The what's it called? Stagecraft. What's
The
it called?
volume.
The volume. Yep, the volume,
volume.
which allows you to make sort of television that needs a lot of locations and visual effects cheaper, and being able obviously to make Star Wars live action shows now, which is all really awesome. But yeah, he sort of confirmed some things we already know. But it was just cool to hear someone like Rick talk about it, who we don't often hear talk about it. This is what he had to say. He said, "I think we had over 60 scripts, third draft scripts. Again, the most wonderful writers in the world on it. And again, we created exactly the same experience for everybody at Skywalker Ranch. And again, just a phenomenal group of talent. And these were dark. They were sexy. They were violent. They were just absolutely wonderful. Wonderful, complicated, challenging. I mean, it would have blown up the whole Star Wars universe. And Disney definitely would have never offered George to buy it. He laughed when he said that to me. That was a joke. But it's one of the great disappointments of our life. But the problem was each episode was bigger than the films. So the lowest I could get it down to with the technology that existed then was about 40 million an episode. So I mean, again, it's obviously no surprise that the show never made it to air. 40 million episode is a huge amount of money. Game of Thrones and The Last of Us cost between 10 million and 20 million episode today, and this is obviously we're talking about this 15 years ago. It's one of those things where like I was aware it's been talked about. The 20 scripts has been known. Obviously, the 20 scripts were written and they're owned by Lucasfilm, so they're there to do whatever they want with. Those ideas can appear in anything Star Wars probably want them to appear in, I imagine. But what's your thoughts on Rick talking about this, which is really cool because he doesn't talk much. And then what's your thoughts on what he had to say?
Yeah, for me, Rick McCallum is someone that I'd always followed, and he obviously, when Lucasfilm was took over by Disney, Rick sort of disappeared. And I did a bit of research. I think he's been living and working as a producer in I want to say the Czech Republic or somewhere like that. But he's been very distant from what he was doing previously at Lucasfilm. I always felt that from the footage, from the way everything was done with Indiana Jones, Young Indiana Jones Chronicle, his involvement with the special editions, and then the prequel trilogy, Rick always felt like, to me, he was the natural successor to George. So when obviously Kathleen took over, I knew Kathleen's pedigree. I knew where she'd come from as well, so I wasn't completely surprised. But Rick was someone that I've always wondered what happened to him, and I sort of knew a few bits. Obviously, this interview was really interesting to me to look at what he said. A lot of the stuff I'd read bits and pieces about what had happened with Underworld in the past. And I think recently the other person that's come out started talking off of the back of what Rick said is Ron Moore, who obviously was involved with a lot of science fiction back in the 90s and 2000s. He was involved as a writer on Underworld. I believe Russell T Davies of Doctor Who was involved as a writer. That was one of the reasons he left Doctor Who the first time around, was to go and work with Lucasfilm on this Star Wars series. So there was some real talent involved. I can remember being very excited at the time that this series was going to happen. And then obviously George shocked everyone with the announcement that he sold Lucasfilm to Disney. At the time when obviously they were talking about new films with the original actors. So it's hearing from Rick and some of the insights he has, I always find intriguing, because to me, he was a bit of a hero. The work he did, he was a big part of Star Wars for me. In my era of learning about Star Wars. So I think it's great. It's sad that maybe these scripts won't see the light of day, or maybe they will in some form. But it just goes to show how fickle the film industry can be, or how much budget can take something down. But it is, I've spoken before about development hell, and a lot of projects that get greenlit, that go into development and then never see the light of day. And we just have stories of what could have been. And this is one of those stories, what could have been. But it is an exciting part of the past of Star Wars. And hearing from Rick, I think, is great.
I think it's always great to hear from Rick. I think from obviously I was sort of 11 when Phantom Menace came out. Teenager when Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith came out, and he's a big part of obviously the DVD extras and all the production stuff that we got. He's all over those, so he was always like a household name to me. I'm not quite sure when he left the company, to be fair. I don't think he was necessarily there when George decided to sell, if that makes sense. I think it's funny, obviously, Rick tried to get the budget down. The closest he got was 40 million. Obviously, George went no, because, I mean, Lucasfilm can make its own things. It doesn't always, but it can. It did with Clone Wars. It made the entire first season of Clone Wars on its own money and then sold it to Cartoon Network after they'd already made it. And they didn't do the traditional way of doing a pilot and then selling it. He made the whole first season. But I think, 60 scripts at 40 minute episode, it certainly adds up. But it was the fact that these scripts couldn't be done on a low budget, or not a low budget, but a lower budget, I suppose, is why they strived to make stagecraft and the volume happen. And that's why we have these awesome Star Wars TV shows now, I suppose. So, it's handprint over Star Wars and storytelling in general is there, which is fantastic. And I think, do you when you watch episodes of Star Wars Rebels, and then you see something that's based on a Ralph McQuarrie artwork we haven't seen in 40 years. Like, these scripts are owned by the company, so ideas from them and characters and whatever can turn up whenever, really, which is fantastic. Moving on from that, obviously there was some talk that Kathleen Kennedy was about to immediately step down, which had some far-right fanboys probably excited, living in their basements. But she responded pretty quickly to that with Deadline, actually, so it was a pretty big deal. She gave it an interview at Deadline.com, just refuting news rumours. Deadline basically said, "We've read all these speculative reports that you are out, and there's a frenzy for the next person who's going to take over Lucasfilm. What is the truth?" Kathleen said, "The truth is, and I want to just say loud and clear, I am not retiring. I will never retire from movies. I will die making movies. This is the first thing that's important to say. I am not retiring. What's happening at Lucasfilm is I've been talking for quite some time with both Bob and Alan, so they're both the Disney executives, about what eventual succession might look like, and have an amazing bench of people here. And we have every intention of making an announcement months or a year down the road. We are in lockstep as to what that's going to be, and I am continuing. I am producing the Mandalorian movie right now, and I'm also producing Sean Levy's movie, which is after that. So again, she confirms here that that Sean Levy movie, which is possibly starring Ryan Gosling, is going to be the next Star Wars film into production. So I'm continuing to stay at Lucasfilm and looking very thoughtfully with Bob and Alan as to who's stepping in. So that is all in our way, and we have every right to make that announcement when we want to make it, which is very right about. Deadline said, "That you are looking within seems to give credence to what we've heard, that an exec like Chief Creative Officer Dave Filoni is in a good position as he works on a Star Wars to write and direct." Kath Kennedy said, "I can't say who it is because there's just an internal process that goes on inside a large corporation and a publicly held company as to how we go about making deals, finalising decisions, and making announcements. There's nothing unusual about that, and we're in that process." Deadline then said, "This flurry of press coverage, it sounds like chaos. What's the reality?" Kathleen said, "Chaos? There's never been any chaos because we know exactly what the plan is, and we've been talking about it. As I said, non-stop for the last couple of years, for obvious reasons. I'm not going to be here forever. George asked me 13 years ago to step in. It's crazy as well. You think about she's been in charge of the company for 13 years now. It has been a long time. He doesn't feel like it. And now I'm looking at who's going to replace me. And as I said, we have a bench of people internally to handle the business, the creative side. The job has grown also since I stepped in. There was no streaming. There weren't a lot of things that we're involved in right now going on, so it has grown." Deadline then said, "How far down the road do you expect before a change gets made and then you go off and produce those two big Star Wars things?" She put, "We'll probably make an announcement months or a year out, and I have every intention of sticking around to help that person be successful. I'm already producing a Mandalorian movie, and Sean Levy's is after that." So yeah, basically, she's just saying that she's here. The company is looking at, if you think about Kathleen Kennedy, she's been in the industry for like maybe 7 decades now. Like, she is getting old. And while she may not retire from the movies, at some point, she will no longer be the head of Lucasfilm, or we'll have to have somebody else do that. And it seems like they're looking into that quite seriously and, going to make that decision soon, which is good, and they can announce it. So, what's your thoughts on that? I think it's great that they came out, and just because the rumors were spiraling a bit, as if they say like, oh, like, she's out, and like, who knows, it's going to be chaos. But it seems like it's all part of the plan, which you would expect when you have somebody of Kathleen Kennedy's age, I suppose.
Yeah, it all makes sense, and what she says makes sense. Obviously, I think I've said several times that Kathleen Kennedy deserves more respect than a lot of people give her. She's worked on a lot of big projects. She's had a huge task with what she's been doing in the last 13 years. She's got George's vision to move forward, but also she's got to deal with corporations, with, and like she rightly says, the whole filmmaking environment has changed dramatically over those 13 years. So a lot of the criticism that's chucked at her, I'd like to see some of these idiots have a go at doing it themselves, and see what they could do. And maybe people would start throwing mud at them as quick as they have done at her. So yeah, it makes sense. It's good that they're talking about it. Like she says, it's obvious she's not going to be there forever. And someone else will need to step in. And there are a lot of talented people. Lucasfilm is a huge, huge company with people that are just as talented as, don't get me wrong, I'd love to see Dave in the role, but there are other creatives that we don't necessarily see that could do the job and would do the job leading it. And that's why, it's down to Lucasfilm to find the right person. And, I look forward to seeing what comes in the future. But I think for the task that Kathleen's had, people moan and groan about the different content. But yeah, it's all got its problems. But I still love nearly every single bit that we've been given. And I'm still enjoying Star Wars 13 years after she took over. So, I think it's good that she's come out, made this statement. They've in effect knocked all the rumours straight out of the park. This is what's happening. We'll tell you what's going on when we're ready to tell you. And that's how it should be.
It is indeed. And moving on from that, we move into action figure news. There was obviously, at the beginning of the month, a Hasbro Pulse Star Wars fan stream, and obviously Toy Fair pre-orders did go live, and there has been the New York Toy Fair as well. So things that were revealed, we obviously had a retro collection of the new series figure multi-pack, which is not for me, but those retro collections do well. Black Series Cassian Andor as the Xenos test pilot, as seen in the trailer when he steals the TIE fighter. Looks fantastic. The Black Series director, Orson Krennic, so I'm not sure if obviously it's Krennic from Andor, but it could just be a repaint of Andor from Rogue One, from Krennic from Rogue One. We'll have to wait and see what that is. We've got the Black Series Imperial Praetorian Guards. Obviously, we've seen the Praetorian Guards from The Last Jedi. Obviously, we did see them in the Mandalorian, the Imperial versions. We're finally getting a Black Series one of those. That's going to be really awesome. We're getting a Black Series Moff Gideon, but in the Dark Trooper armor that we see in the Season 3 finale, which looks fantastic as well. There's also a Vintage Collection Imperial Armored Commando. There's a Vintage Collection Momo Nadon. And, of course, there is a Vintage Collection Ponda Baba all coming. I don't know if there's any new Star Wars merchandise you've got your eyes on, Jason, or if you've purchased anything recently.
I have had a rather nice delivery from Roosevelt's Fire Jedi News. And I've got a really cool droid hoodie, which I'm very impressed with. Roosevelt's bringing out some brilliant stuff. They've just announced a new range of stuff with a cool Chopper shirt and Chopper baseball cap, which I've got my eye on. Also, obviously, last week saw the pre-release, and Friday saw the release of the latest version of Star Wars Unlimited, which I've yet to collect my latest Jump to Lightspeed set, but I will be hopefully heading to Jedi Archives to collect my latest bunch of goodies. And at the moment, I'm really loving the stuff that's coming out of Game Genix to go along with the Star Wars Unlimited. I'm purchasing some of the stuff from them. I've got one of the gaming mats, which I had to go with the other week when I had a weekend of Star Wars Unlimited playing. And the gaming mats just really help you with setting out the cards, and if you're new to the game, learning how to play it because it's so easily set out. So yeah, for me, a lot of it's the Game Genix and Star Wars Unlimited stuff, which when I'm feeling a bit better, I'm hoping to dive into even more.
One of the things I think we don't have a lot of in the UK is sort of like retro and like old school collectible toy stores. Certainly in the northeast, we don't have many, but in North Shields, close to me, we do have OKL collectible toys, which is at Royal Keys. I was in there last weekend and I did pick up some Attack of the Clones figures. So these are sort of in the blue boxes, Hasbro 3 and 3/4 inch figures that came out for the Attack of the Clones movie. And I managed to get Zam Wessel with interchangeable face as a changeling, and I managed to get Jango Fett from the Geonosis battle. So he has the different jetpack and he has the flamethrower gauntlet. His head is also detachable because Mace Windu chops it off, and Zam's arm is also detachable. So I picked those up for £10 each, which isn't too bad. And we have got I've actually unboxed those and they're available on our TikTok. So go check out the Star Wars TikTok and you'll see those figures opened. I've let them breathe for once, and I think that could be something I do going forward. I also had a delivery from Star Action Figures, as I mentioned, Star Wars The Last Command. It's a 4-piece 6-inch Black Series special edition set. It was a Hasbro Pulse exclusive for a long time at like gain £130. They didn't sell, so it wasn't the toy stores. Like I said, I picked this up for about £33 from Star Action Figures. You get Luke Skywalker, which is basically it's a reissue of Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker. You get Mara Jade, looks awesome. You get Jarrus Kuboth. He comes with the red lightsaber and he comes with interchangeable hands that have the lightning. And then there's also Luke, which is of course clone Luke from the storyline again. Probably the least thing I hate. I wouldn't say hate. Probably the thing I dislike the most about Star Wars is a clone of Luke Skywalker. And they've almost put like Luke's head. They made his eyes a bit evil, and they've put it on sort of a Jedi Knight body from the prequel era. So it's actually a cool figure because I think if you wanted to have Luke in Jedi robes that are different to the ones he has, you could use this figure for that, which is really cool. But overall, like I said, 4 figures, 3 of them on new. For £33, I think it's a fantastic deal from Star Action Figures. I'm not quite sure how many of these are left, but I'll grab that while I could. And I also needed to get another purchase to clarify for free shipping. So I did get the Star Wars Attack of the Clones Black Series 6-inch double pack. It is C-3PO on the B1 Battle Droid body and a Super Battle Droid twin pack, which does look pretty awesome as well. But that is pretty much it for my purchases. Jason, any other messages to give to the listeners before we wrap this thing up?
No, I think I am hopefully going to be attending a Comic-Con this coming Sunday, so a week today, because we're recording on the 16th, in Bournemouth, Creed Comic-Con. This one I'm quite looking forward to. I was originally hoping to be doing a bit of presenting, but at the moment with my voice, I don't think I'm going to be able to hold up for a lot of stage work. But I'm going to hopefully go along and help the guys out. So if there's anyone down at the Comic Con, and if you spot me probably wearing something Star Warsy, come and say hello.
Indeed, do that. This episode we want to just dedicate to Ash M, who left us that awesome review, who listens to us all the way from Canada. Again, thank you, it meant us a lot. It's also dedicated to Newcastle United, who've just won the Carabao Cup, or as I call it, the League Cup. Our first trophy in nearly 70 years, certainly domestic trophy, so big ups to Big Dan Byrne and the rest of the team on that. We also want to dedicate this episode to Luke from Star Wars Sessions. He's had to go and have some surgery recently. I've heard that surgery's gone well, though, and he should be recovering. But I enjoy listening to Star Wars Sessions. I think what Matt and Luke do there is really fun and also very interesting. And he's certainly, when I met him at Star Wars Celebration, just a great guy, salt of the earth type of person you want to be around. So, Luke, this goes out to you. Have a fast recovery, a full recovery, my friend. And if you need anything, reach out. If you are listening to this podcast on Apple Music, or I should say Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. Leave a nice little sentence about the podcast. It makes us smile all week. Only takes you a few moments to write it. And also, if you are leaving a 5-star review, send us it on social media. Let us see it. And again, you might get a shout out on the podcast and also a little goodie bag sent out. We do appreciate it. And if you're listening on any of the other wonderful podcast applications out there, again, if it has a feature to leave a review, leave us all of the stars you can. Leave us a lovely little sentence about why I like the show. And again, share that with us. Keeps us smiling for a long time. Only takes you a few moments. And like I said, we'll give you a shout out on the show. And we'll also possibly get you some goodies sent out. May the force be with you all. And remember, always tell that to Kanja Club.